We all behave differently when we get stuck on a decision. It may be that sometimes we might become frustrated. It might be sometimes we feel blue. It might be sometimes we don't want to engage with making the decision. We all behave differently. And sometimes, even the way we behave when we get stuck on a decision might be different, depending on the type of decision we need to make and where we are in the decision-making process. So for example, if you were to say that the blocker of finding the right decision for you is mental clutter, you might feel overwhelmed. But regardless of what is the behavior, the feelings, the emotions, the thoughts you have when you get stuck on a decision, it is important for you to be able to identify that you are actually stuck on the decision that you're trying to make. Because the sooner you do this, the faster you can actually go back and re-engage with the decision-making process and not waste time and energy on something that's actually not really gonna close the gap between where you're at right now and where you want to be in life, wherever that may be. Decisions overall are easy to make. The process of making decisions, it's easy, regardless of the type of decision you need to make. The fact that we add weight to specific decisions based on the negative implications that particular decision may have on your life and the risk level that decision may have in your life, it's a separate story. We put more weight on specific decisions, and because of that, we believe they are harder to make. But equally, what indeed makes us believe that decision-making process is a hard process is us staying stuck for too long trying to make a decision. Because in the moment when we're actually stuck, we are going around in circles. We waste a lot of energy and effort around trying to make the decision and not on actually making the decision. And this hardship, this feeling of not being able to make decisions, in time it can compound to a belief that decision making is a difficult process. But who wants to believe, in fact, that decision making process is a difficult process? Because we don't want to believe that life is hard, that life is difficult, that in order for us to achieve what we want to achieve, we need to go through hardship. We don't want to, even though we may believe that's the case in some instances. Nobody wants that. We want to believe in ease. We want to believe that we can do things in such a way that we don't feel drained at the end of the day. Yes, we might feel tired, but one thing is to feel tired and another thing is to feel drained. That's why it's really important for you in the moment when you get stuck on a decision to be able to recognize that as soon as that happens. Because the longer you stay in that stuckness, the faster it can be for you to change the mindset about making decisions. At the same time, you also have the opportunity to separate what's happening to you. Because being stuck on a decision is something different than actually being engaged and trying to make a decision, even though maybe in that moment in time of feeling stuck, you actually feel that you're actually engaged with the decision-making process, but in reality you don't. You're actually focused on your emotional state, on your thoughts, and anything else that happens while you feel stuck on the decision. It's a bit like when you're actually driving a car during the night and you see the lights on the side of the road, and instead of you actually focusing on driving the car straight ahead towards your destination, you start looking at the lights, and especially directly at the light. It's very likely for you to no longer really get to the destination where you want to get, because you might actually end up being so focused on the lights that you just stay there in that place without really moving forward ahead. And yes, the light is useful. You do need the light, especially during the night, to be able to reach your destination. And that's also what our thoughts and feelings bring. They are information so that we can use as part of the decision-making process. But one thing is to use that information as part of the decision-making process. Another thing is to stay focused on them without actually doing anything about them. And that's the key difference here. Because at the end of the day, for you to be able to reach the goal you want to reach, for you to be able to become the person you want to become in life, you need to make the decisions that will ultimately help you get to where you want to get. And in order to make those decisions, you need to be engaged with the decision-making process. You need to actually drive the car from where you are to the destination. And the only way to drive the car is to actually stop focusing on the lights and actually use the light as a guide that will help you really get to the destination you need to get.